Peoples, good afternoon. It is Friday, February 2nd, and I am here with your geopolitical news. Al Jazeera reports: Can South Africa's genocide case at the ICJ stop Israel? South Africa's ambassador to the U.S. talks to Marc Lamont Hill about the implications of the case and the court's ruling. To give you guys some context, I'm going to play this short video.
Ambassador Nchinga, thank you so much for joining me on Upfront.
Thank you. Thank you.
Since October 7th, countries all around the world have been critical of Israel's campaign in Gaza. But it was South Africa that brought the case to the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. Why?
I think you must remember that we come from a similar situation as the Palestinians.
So remember that it is only South Africa that has brought this case against Israel. So the amount of disdain felt around the world for the situation that's going on between Israel and Palestine, that's one thing. But South Africa has taken action in the form of legality, meaning they have filed a case against Israel in the International Court of Justice.
We come from apartheid where we were oppressed, we were denied our basic rights and all of that. So the plight of Palestinians we can relate to. And that we are not able to be indifferent to such plight because it's just like ours. It's identical to our plight and their agony. We can relate to. We are.
And so it was important to me that I played this short clip because there's a lot of people, especially in the United States of America, and I'm hearing commentary all over social media and certain news media platforms where it seems to be people are saying things like, well, why should I care about them? Or this problem has nothing to do with me and my people. Rhetoric as, you know, as the such. And so I found or I find that to be disheartening because that is not the way that I feel, nor is that the sentiment that I carry. I 100% and wholeheartedly care about all humanity and all civilization.
Came to a conclusion that our struggles were similar. And we also came to conclusions that the people who oppressed us were quite friendly to one another. I mean, apartheid South Africa, to a very large extent, militarily and so on, was maintained by Israel. So we had all those commonalities, and we thought that we can't just sit and do nothing and watch them getting from bad to worse, and that let us do something just to stop the their everyday sufferings.
You know, there's also a sense of pride that I have, knowing very well that there are people, and not just people who stand on the side of righteousness, but stand on the side of being right. But there are also people who look just like me, who I identify with as being the same as me. And it lets me know that my heart and my soul is in the right place because these are the people who are standing up and standing against what they're seeing and knowing is wrong right before their eyes. And I very well hold the same position. and stand with them as well.
Last Friday, the ICJ issued a provisional ruling on your case, South Africa's case against Israel. And the court said that it was, quote, plausible that Israel had committed genocidal acts in Palestine. The court called on Israel to take, quote, all measures to prevent genocide and also to prevent and punish the direct and public incitement to commit genocide. However, despite those rulings or decisions, the World Court stopped short of calling for a ceasefire. And that's what the South African government was actually asking for. Oh, was that
And so, like I said, when I reported on this before, I felt like it was something sort of similar to a kangaroo court. Because on one hand, you will recognize the atrocities, you will recognize the calamities and the destruction that's happening inside of Gaza. But on the other hand, you won't call for the immediate cease of this destruction. You won't call for the immediate end of this devastation to a whole group of people. And so it's confusing, and it's all confusing, and it will continue to be confusing when you have opposing sides, and these opposing sides are in positions of power.
surprising to you?
It was surprising because we had hoped that we were going to get that, the ceasefire, because we still believe that that is the best under these circumstances, to get a ceasefire as a way of stopping the carnage, that ceasefire will be very. But having said that, if you look at these provisional measures, they will actually be amounting to a ceasefire because it will be very difficult to carry out these provisional measures and be able to report in a month's time without doing things differently. You see, so
Well,
to
let me push you on that a little bit because
So I guess he feels like effectively the provisions, even though they're not calling for a ceasefire, he feels like the provisions will effectively make them have to move strategically different. And so it will um, ultimately lead to the less casualties and less loss of life. Now, this is an assumption, obviously. Obviously, it is an assumption. So you will not call for the immediate ceasefire, but you put provisions in place and you just hope and pray that these provisions will, you know, deter the Israeli military from committing such acts moving forward.
Israel's position is we're happy to take all measures to prevent civilian deaths, to prevent, violence or death, etc., because that's what we've always been doing. So they're going to make the case that whatever the court is asking them to do, they're going to carry out because they've always been carrying it out, and that the deaths that we're seeing, the 26,000 deaths in 3 months, are not because they want to kill people, but because Hamas has left them no choice by hiding in hospitals and refugee camps and all this stuff. What do you say to that?
you see that
There's a difference between, when they say Hamas is using the Palestinian people as human shields. You know, let's be real. What is a human shield? Well, a human shield can come in different forms. It can be direct and physical, where you just grab somebody and put them in front of you to protect yourself from whatever harm is coming towards you, and you use that person to reflect it. That's one form of a human shield. The other form of a human shield is to, uh, I'm guessing, what the Israeli military will have you and I believe, that Hamas has these people so frightened and so scared that they're telling them not to leave. And because they're telling them not to leave, that they are staying there. And so this commentary right here, it makes absolutely no sense. It's pure absurdity. If you have an enemy, then go find your enemy, hunt your enemy, and kill your enemy. Why haven't you done such? It's because you're scared. You're terrified because your enemy is used to hand combat, which you're not. With you and the rest of the your Western allies have decided to do is you have decided to fall back, so to say, on training soldiers for hand-to-hand combat, and you have decided to go a way of technology, bombings and drones and drone attacks and all of these different type of all of these different types of warfare without actually being in the physical. Financial warfare, you name it.
Those provisional measures, as I'm saying, if you're talking about people access to medical and healthcare facilities, all right?
Yeah.
Then it means that they must be secured. They must be able to go there. They must not be afraid that they'll be bombed. If we are talking about people having access to to water, electricity, and all of that, it must be available. If we are talking about humanitarian aid, to be able to reach where it is most needed, then there must not be any firing that is going on. It must be able to go. So it will be very difficult for Israel to tell why they should. Why they shoot a school? Why did they bomb a school? The carpet bombings that we have been seeing. We can't say you use carpet bombing because Hamas is hiding behind civilians and all that.
Yeah, the carpet bombings where you just bomb a blanket area rather than to target an individual or a group of individuals, you just target a whole area.
It doesn't work that way. What it says is that you are indiscriminate in your killing. And I don't think we are saying they should not chase their enemies and all of that. We're not saying that. But what we are saying, leave the civilians out of this. And what worries us most is the number of young people, children included, that are dying, that they seem to be in the majority.
Women and children are the majority,
Yeah.
collectively, and
Yeah.
of the 20, more than 26,000.
And that's the whole problem. You see, I don't think the world would be sitting back having such an issue with this situation if so many women and children weren't dying. And that's even sad within itself because they could very well be killing men and we would never know, but the world wouldn't be so outraged. We wouldn't know if these men were actually guilty or not. But you haven't just stopped there. The women and children add such another horrific layer to this whole situation that there's not many words that you can find to describe what you feel when you witness what you're witness, and you're witnessing it in real time. And so this is the issue with this whole situation. It's been magnified because we have technology. We can see this in real time. We have smartphones, we have devices, we can record, we can live stream. All this is happening in real time. And as I said just a few seconds ago, the women and children, that aspect adds a whole different dynamic to the situation.
Yeah.
People have died. 10,000 of them are
Yeah.
children. It's we're somewhere around 1% of the overall child population of
Gee.
Gaza has been killed. That's a stunning number.
That's a lot.
Do you have confidence that Israel will do?
It's not just a stunning number, it's an appalling number. It's a number that should make you it should make you it should make you sick to your stomach. That number is outrageous. That number should make anyone around the world feel like, you know what? We must take action.
Anything different in the aftermath of the ruling? And if so, what?
We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. But I think that will really depend on the resolve of international community because I think the judges have done their best, and I think they've given us the best decisions that they could under the
You know, when he says that he feels like he thinks the judges have done their best, you know, that might be the overall consensus. But there is one judge that I want to single out, and she's a female, and I'm going to come back to you guys with her name. But she is a representative of Uganda, and she is one of the sitting judges of the 17 on the ICJ panel. Now, this judge was the single judge that voted against, and let me repeat that. This judge is the single judge that voted against all of the provisions that the ICJ ordered Israel to comply with.
circumstances. Now it's up to international community because it's going to the UN now.
Yeah.
So it's up to international community to make up its mind whether it wants to protect the Palestinians.
You talk about the will of the international community. What can the international community do if Israel says we're not going to change?
Oh, there are a lot of things. I mean, as international community can do a lot of things.
Like what?
Like for instance, the complete isolation of Israel. Right? Complete 100% isolation of Israel. First,
So he's basically saying that, you know, if Israel doesn't want to comply, which Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has already come out publicly and said that they will not, you know, nothing will stop them in response to the case being brought against them from South Africa in the International Court of Justice. So their response, his response, was that Israel would not be stopped, regardless of any decision passed down by the International Court of Justice. And so, what Mark Hill is asking this individual, this representative from South Africa, he's asking him, what can be done if if they just decide, or which they have already decided and already said that they're not gonna comply, what can be done? And he's saying many things can be done. 100% isolation of Israel can be done. And I've already seen the report about the BRICS nation imposing sanctions upon Israel in the United States of America.
Israel to behave in a certain manner, and that will mean uh, things like denying them markets,
Yeah.
sanctioning them to the extreme, embargoing them, so to say, and all of that. Those measures have been used before. It can still be used. So hence, I'm saying it's not as if international community doesn't have ways of dealing with international community. We do, as international community, have means and leverages and all of that. It is up to us to decide that we are going to follow what the judges have said, and the judges have told us what we've always been suspecting.
So he's basically saying that there are ways to basically get at Israel. There are ways to lean on Israel. There are ways to deter Israel from their continuous military campaign in the Gaza Strip, even though Israel has already rejected any decision against it made by the International Court of Justice.
There are people who say there are lots of places that did something wrong, but only the Jewish state is getting isolated. Itamar Ben-Gvir, Israel's national security minister, in addition to just dismissing the ruling in and of itself, he said Hague Schmeg on his X account. He also said that it was anti-Semitic. Do you have a concern, or how do you respond to the concern that the specific choice to bring Israel to the international court is an anti-Semitic?
Once again, any criticism, any negative or anything that seems to be of negative connotation towards Israel is viewed as being anti-Semitic. So I can only imagine that my commentary, that the way that I viewed and covered this situation from the beginning, I can only imagine that I myself very well would be considered to be anti-Semitic. And not only is that untrue, it's also sad in a sense because it's a grotesque misunderstanding.
You see, that I find also very, very sad, that you do horrible things and then you hide behind such things as anti-Semitism in order to morally blackmail people and to blackmail us into submission and keeping quiet. That has been used as a stick. And I will tell you how
And that's the same sentiment that I feel. It's almost like, you know, I can do very well whatever I choose to do. And if you speak out against it, or if you in definitely if you act out against it, well, you will be considered to be not only terroristic, not only radical, but you will be considered to be human animals, quote unquote.
hollow that is, that to say that this is anti-Semitic. Some of the most prominent Palestinian supporters in South Africa are Jews who are in the forefront of pushing that something has to be done. They are South African Jews who were involved in the anti-apartheid struggle and are still alive, and they are pushing for this because they say they can't say apartheid was wrong, but be quiet about the occupation of Palestine. So now, are we then going to say what these people, the type of people you're talking about? They then call them, they say they are self hating. Are they self hating because they've got the gut to stand up that what we are doing is wrong? That's why I'm saying it becomes so sad that for so long they have managed to do a moral blackmail on nations, on people, and saying that once you criticize what they are doing,
A moral blackmail. Excuse me. So a moral blackmail. Pay attention to that statement? Moral blackmail.
In Palestine, the oppression of Palestinians and the slaughter of Palestinians, they call that anti-Semitic. So I don't know what is anti-Semitism anymore.
Germany had previously said that it would intervene on behalf of Israel at the World Court, saying there was, quote, no basis whatsoever for the accusation of genocide. They argued that the interpretation of genocidal intent has to be more restrictive.
Yeah.
However, an announcement came after the ICJ's decision, where a German foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock, said that Israel still must adhere to the ICJ ruling. Based on what we see now, do you believe that Germany will be intervening on Israel's behalf in the next stage?
You know, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I can only imagine that any ally to any Western nation will intervene on the behalf of Israel. The world is divided, the world is split, and you have regime changes that are happening every day. You have corruption, you have militaries staging military campaigns around the world. The world is divided. And then you also have economic struggle.
We really don't know. And of course, if that's what they want to do, is they are right. Let them do it. But we still are insisting on what we think is happening in Palestine.
But why I think about Germany, and I just think about the why of it. You know, you talked about moral blackmail. I mean, is there a heightened guilt from European nations given their own role in the Nazi Holocaust?
God, I don't know. Well, if they feel guilty, they should show it, give it towards us, that guilt.
And I always said the same thing. How is it that the United States of America have become allies with once with what was once known throughout the world, in the history of the world, as Nazi Germany? Now Germany has become an ally, and Germany is going to intervene on the behalf of Israel. These it's outright appalling, people. It's disgusting. And once you peel back the layers and connect the dots, well, it's clear to see the diabolical nature of the people that we're dealing with. Peoples, if you haven't done so already, follow Street Icon on all social media platforms. At Street Icon 8080 on YouTube platform. That's at Street Icon 8080. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about the situation. The ICJ rules in the Israel versus South Africa genocide case. How do you feel about this? Drop a comment in the comment section, and always remember, stay vigilant, stay safe. Peace.